Well, good evening and welcome to the 17th Annual International Public Policy Forum Awards Ceremony. My name is Andrea Sadberry and I'm the IPPF Executive Director. On behalf of the Brewer Foundation and New York University, thank you for being here tonight as we celebrate our Elite 8 teams, one of whom will soon be named the IPPF World Champion. In its 17 years, the IPPF has involved tens of thousands of students representing schools in nearly every U.S. state and dozens of foreign countries. The competition always begins in October as teams are invited to submit 2,800-word qualifying round essays on the IPPF topic. This year, more than 160 teams responded, submitting essays on the topic resolved. International climate accords for greenhouse gas emissions should adopt binding enforcement mechanisms. Volunteer judges helped us review the essays and select the top 64 teams, who immediately began written debates via email. A panel of judges reviewed each debate, and the winning schools advanced to the top 32. This process continued for several rounds until we reached the final Elite 8 teams. Our Elite 8 teams come to New York this year from 5 U.S. states, China, Slovakia, and Taiwan. At this time, let's welcome our teams. Teams and coaches, please stand as I announce your name. Concordia International School from Shanghai, Shanghai, China. The Davison Academy of Nevada from Reno, Nevada. East Mountain High School from Sandia Park, New Mexico. Leaf Academy from Bratislava, Slovakia. Stuyvesant High School from New York, New York. Taipei American School from Taipei, Taiwan. Westfield Academy from West Hartford, Connecticut. And finally, William Mason High School from Mason, Ohio. And we also have several special guests we would like to acknowledge at this time. First, I'd like to introduce some of the final panel judges who are still with us this evening. Mr. William Brewer of Brewer Attorneys and Counselors, who is standing next to NYU President Emeritus John Sexton. And also with us this evening, our advisory board member, Will Baker. And other members of our advisory board here with us tonight who judge other rounds today, Alex Pui, Trey Smith, and Irina Kotakova. We also want to take a moment to thank David Baker, who served as a judge and moderator today, and he also leads our IPPF Topic Selection Committee. And finally, we would like to thank two very special groups. The members of the NYU debate team who judged hundreds, literally hundreds of written debates this year. Many of them are here with us tonight in their role as NYU ambassadors. As ambassadors, they help our teams to navigate New York and answer questions during finals weekend. A big thank you to all of them. And also the many members of our IPPF alumni organization, the IPPF Circle of Champions. Now, many of its members are now graduates of prestigious colleges such as NYU, Yale, and Harvard. They graciously volunteer their time each year to judge many written debates, and also many of them return to New York year after year. Many of them right here, Andrew Garbarino, I see you, Andy Ewan, Shika Garg, and Ravi. Did I miss anyone? We're so thankful to them for their continued support years after they participated in the IPPF themselves. Let's give them a round of applause. In just a few minutes, we will name the next IPPF World Champion. But first, I would like to introduce NYU President Emeritus John Sexton to share a few words. I have a mic. There you go.
They know me. They knew I wouldn't stay back there. So they asked me to say a few words. I don't do this every year, but I love it when they ask me to do it. I've come here every year. I see many, many folks that have been here repeatedly, and it's wonderful to welcome you all back. Let me just say something serious to start, and then I want to just connect it to tonight. The serious thing is this. So next year will be my 60th year of teaching. And so I was called to teaching when I was younger, probably than most of the finalists today. I was 17 when, for reasons that are too complicated to explain, somebody actually thought it was reasonable to allow me to begin teaching high school students, some of whom were older than I was. When I turned my 75th birthday, fortunately none of the young women with whom I worked, because the vehicle that I used was a high school debating team, and none of the young women with whom I worked over the 15 years that I worked with them out in Brooklyn has died, so they're all like my daughters. And the four of them that already had reached their 75th birthday got together and took me out for my 75th birthday. So debate has been part of my life since I entered that classroom, 60 years ago. And those young women who were at a high school where only 5% of the graduates went to college, they simply needed one thing. And debate was the vehicle to give it to them, but the one thing was a teacher who believed in them and who said to them, you're going to do this. And I learned then, and I've gone through, as they mentioned, 14 years as NYU's dean and 14 years as its president, and then 2 years ago I went back to the classroom because 28 years is enough. But all during the 28 years, I was the only dean in the world and the only president in the world that taught a full faculty schedule, a minimum of 4 or 5 courses every year, because I had understood the vocation of teaching and what it meant simply to be, for young people, a possibilitarian, just to say to them, it's possible, indeed, I expect you. And the thing I learned over the years, and I'm speaking now to the wonderful coaches who've devoted their lives to these young people. I've just finished my latest book, and in there, in the preface, I answer a question I'm frequently asked. You worked 15 years with your high school kids, and that's not on my resume, but people that know me know it all goes back to there. What it looked like I was doing in my resume was going to college and getting my PhD, and then, because I wasn't being paid to work with the high school kids, getting a job as a college professor. And then I went to law school later, much later. I say, if you asked me if I could only do on earth one of those 3 15-year periods, the time with the debaters, the time as dean, the time as president of NYU, it's not even close. The kind of thing that the coaches here in the room are doing, that's something. And you know why that is? That's because of you folks. That's because you make us understand that this broken world can be better. And there's the gist of my book, I'm going to give it to you in 30 seconds. The gist of my latest book is that there's developed in the world a kind of secular version of what I knew as a Brooklyn Irish Catholic back on the streets of Brooklyn, where we believed the only people that would be saved were members who had been baptized in our church. And now it's ironic to me that we don't believe that anymore. We open ourselves. I mean, the greatest love in my life was my wife, a Jewish woman, and we've raised our children Jewish. So I obviously don't believe that, right? But our politics is now infected. And there was reference to it in Slovakia, where it infects politics, but in the United States, more than any place in the world, I think, it's infected with a secular dogmatism. And you know what the wonderful thing about debate is? Maybe this has never occurred to you. To debate at the level of the Elite 8 teams here tonight, there's a skill that nobody thinks about that probably is the most important skill of all. And that is the skill of listening. Because if you don't listen carefully, and if you don't understand the strongest possible statement of the other side's position, you can't win. You can't answer it. And the delight that you don't know which side of the proposition you're going to be on, you know, I mean, think about that. Think of what would happen if we approached everything that way. If the single greatest attribute you could have was understanding the other person well. I'll tell you, it's the secret of love. It's the secret of a good marriage. And it's the secret of politics done the way politics is meant to be. So never lose sight of that. Never lose sight of that. Now, before I close, I just want to make a less formal point. So I love that man. And he came into my life when he was a freshman in high school. And he debated well, but reliably unsuccessfully against my girls. The landscape of the United States is littered. This isn't being sent out, right? This is not, okay. Because I don't want to embarrass a very famous person, you know, on the internet. But the landscape of the United States is littered with really, really smart young men who got their clocks cleaned by the young women from St. Brendan's High School. I mean, I will never forget my beloved one. No, I will never forget going down for the first time. I drove 2 days to get to the Houston Bel Air debate tournament, which was the first tournament we attended. Yeah, you wait until I finish the story. You won't be so whooping in a minute. And there was a bouffanted woman that was like 6 foot tall. What was her name? What was her name? You must know, right? She was like so tall, and then she wore her hair like another foot higher. And I, you know, I'm telling the truth. You know I'm telling the truth. And I drove this van and we're down there because it's our first time to go. And we get out, and I've got this van full of eight young Brooklyn Irish, Italian, or black kids, you know, with accents that make me sound like St. Laurence Olivier. And they're there, and there's, you know, we've been in the car for like 2 days. They sleep in the cars. I'm driving along. And we get out, and this woman, and the look on her face, and she said, "You're the team from St. Brendan's?" And I said, "Yes, we are." And she said, "We have you in the wrong division. We have you in the boys' division." And I said, "The what?" And she said, "The boys' division. You should be in the girls' division." And I said, "Well, which is the better division?" And she said, without missing a beat, "Well, the boys' division, of course, because this is a woman talking to me." And I said, well, guess what? I didn't drive. I'm from Brooklyn. I didn't drive 2,000 miles to be in the JV division. And 3 days later, I'm with people that understand this. When I tell this to the people that aren't debaters, they don't get it. So we had 8 debaters. So there were 2-person teams, a topic debate, whole year, the same topic, that kind of thing. I don't know if you do that anymore. But we closed out the semis. We closed out those damn semis. And when I left, I said, you better do away with that girls division, boys division stuff, but that was your high school. Okay. But the land is littered with men, really smart men that went on to do great things, National Merit Scholarship winners, that still are trying to figure out what happened when the St. Brendan's juggernaut hit them. And one of them went on to be the Secretary of Treasury and the president of Harvard. And when the top research university presidents get together, they sit us, believe it or not, they assign our seats. The top 60 research universities, they assign your seats. So you have to go sit by your name card. And then in addition to that, they don't do you alphabetically by school, so it's not NYU next to whatever, North Carolina or whatever, but it's by the president's name. So SE was next to SU. Okay, now, those of you that don't know American education, all you got to know is this is the former Secretary of Treasury. He's now become, and he and I were named the presidents of our respective universities, him of Harvard, me of NYU, the same month. Okay, and it's our first meeting, and SE is next to SU because his name was SU. And of course, I, being the president of NYU, showed up 15 minutes early, and he, being who he was, showed up 15 minutes late. And he came into the room and came working in through the aisle, to his seat. And he sits down, he turns to his left, and there's SE, and he says, oh shit, you're that John Sexton. Because he had been 0-3 against the girls. And he still was complaining about the judges. The judges got it wrong, But you know something? We connected back when you had just created this, and we should please stand up again, because this was your idea, man. This whole thing was your idea. God bless you. Yours and Bill's, and he called me, and I had just become president of NYU, I think. This was 2001. And he said, I got the Supreme Court head from Texas. It was only for Texas teams. And the teams came into Dallas. And Bill and the head of the Supreme Court, he wanted me to be the third judge. And I said, you can't get the president of NYU to fly to Texas, for God's sake. I said, I love you dearly. He said, no, I'll send a plane for you. Yeah, he's got a plane. He says, I'll send a plane for you. I said, listen, I don't go anywhere unless you make a gift of $1 million. He said, done. So I went down and judged this. I said, this is like the greatest thing going. We should make this worldwide and bring it to the world's capital, New York, not have it in some backwater town. And that's how this started. But this is the last thing I want to say to you, okay? As I turned 30, 4 of my friends, all from debate, did an intervention. And at the time, I was in my 12th year working with my girls, and I'm out in Brooklyn as chairman of the religion department of a college that I call the Harvard of Brooklyn, because it's the oldest college in Brooklyn. But every kid that goes there is first generation. It's just this wonderful place. It's called St. Francis College. And these 4 friends from debate sat me down at the Georgetown Debate Institute. And they said, there's something bigger out there. You got to do, you've always wanted to go to law school. And they not only got me to apply to law school, one of them said he was going to go to law school with me. And studied with me for 8 weeks, the 2 of us, 3 nights a week for the LSAT. And then on the Friday night before the test said, I never intended to go to law school. I just want to make sure you studied for the LSAT. And I applied to 5 schools, 4 in New York, because I was not going to take any more girls in the team. I was going to go to law school while they did, sophomore, junior, senior year, and I could finish my obligation to them because they were my girls. They were my team. And but one of my friends, a fellow who's the leading constitutional lawyer in the world now, his name is Larry Tribe. And Larry, I'm the godfather of his kids, we had debated again. And he said, you got to apply to Harvard because NYU and Columbia and Fordham and Brooklyn will ask, did I recommend you to Harvard? I want to be able to say yes. So I knew I wasn't going to Harvard because I had to stay in New York with my kids. Wouldn't you know, all 5 schools turned me down because I had a 2.1 college grade point average. Because I wasn't in class. I was a debater. I was out, not debating in college. I didn't debate in college. I was out with my kids. So Larry was ticked that Harvard had ignored his recommendation. So he goes storming into this poor admissions dean and says, you pay attention to my letters? So she quaked and she called me up and said, you're accepted on reconsideration. So Harvard was the only school that accepted me, which was a damn good thing when I became dean of NYU because, the fancy alumni, like some of them in the room here, would call me up and say, how could you not accept my daughter? I said, they didn't accept me. Why should they accept your daughter? Give me a break here. Why is your daughter better than me? But I said to this woman, I said, I can't come because I've got these kids I'm working with in my team. And she said, so now I believe everything you said about those, that Larry told me about you and those kids. You're the first person accepted for 3 years from now. And I walked into my first class at Harvard Law School in September of 1975, and across the class was the most magnificent person I've ever seen on earth. And 2 months later, we were married, and we were more in love every day forever. So what's the moral of that story? Why do I tell you that story? I tell you that story because the friendships that you'll make, the friendships you made here, the friendships you'll make through debate, you're united with people that see the complexity of the world. You're united with people that see the importance of the gift of the mind. It's cool to be smart. You're united with people that understand that conversation across boundaries is the heart of the future of the world. And the world is really, really broken. Now, you all got one thing that you had nothing to do with getting. Just think about this for a second. You were all born smart. You didn't earn that. It just happened to you. See? Now, you've done a pretty good job so far for the first 5% of the effort of developing your smartness. But you've got a real obligation to use that gift that you had nothing to do with getting to make the world better. And make it better by staying together as a community of debaters. And God bless you, Bill, for bringing together debaters from around the world the way you do. And God bless you because he's one of my debate boys. He's one of my guys. And he knows any time, any hour of the day or night, I'd run through a wall for him, and I know he'd run through a wall for me. That's what comes out of this. The trophies are secondary. That's what comes out of this. So God bless you all for being so good at it. And God bless you.
Thank you so much, President Sexton. as we move on, it is now time to begin the part where we hand out the trophies, the recognition part of the evening. Our Elite Eight teams have come to New York as guests of the Brewer Foundation. Today, these debaters had the opportunity to supplement months of written scholarship with oral advocacy and a series of individual debates before our judges. I'd like to first recognize our 4 quarterfinal finalists, but first, if Mr. Brewer and President Sexton could please come up to the stage. We are going to begin with our quarterfinalists, and that would be Davidson Academy of Nevada. If you could please come forward. They do, Davidson Academy will receive $750 for their school's debate program on behalf of the Brewer Foundation. And now let's welcome Stuyvesant High School. Please come forward. These student debaters will also receive $750. If Taipei American School, can you please come forward? As quarterfinalists, they'll receive the individual medals, a plaque, and $750 for their debate program. And now can we have Westfield Academy please join us on stage. We might need to make the stage bigger. Either way. After the quarterfinal debates, 4 teams remained. We would now like to recognize our semifinalists for this year. We'll first bring to the stage Concordia International School, Shanghai. As semifinalists, they will receive $1,500 for their school's debate program. And we would now like to welcome East Mountain High School to please come forward. Our other semifinalist team, they will also receive $1,500 for their school's debate program. Now to our final two teams. At 3:30 p.m. today, William Mason High School and Leaf Academy competed in a final 2-hour debate here at the Harold Pratt House. At this time, we would like to go ahead and welcome William Mason and Leaf Academy to please come forward before we announce the results of that debate. Now, before we announce the results, I'd like to note that our runner-up will receive $3,500 for their school's debate program, while our IPPF World Champion will receive $10,000, which is divided between their school's debate program and individual scholarships. Now, first, can we please give these students a big round of applause? On behalf of the Brewer Foundation and New York University, I am proud to announce that the winner of the 2017-18 International Public Policy Forum is Leaf Academy. We would like to go ahead and let's have our runners-up, William Mason, take a photo with Mr. Brewer and Mr. Sexton. And you'll also receive this trophy.
Great job.
And now Leaf Academy, one of only a few international winners so far in the history of the IPPF. So very exciting to come back up to the stage after they hug. Congratulations to all of our Elite 8 schools and to our new IPPF World Champion Leaf Academy. A quick note before we end the evening, we have already selected the topic for the 2018-19 competition. We hope to see all of you here again next year. The topic will be Resolved. U.S. abdication of international leadership creates dangerous global instability. There's more information on our website, so please check it out. And with that, we're adjourned.